We are here at the 8th Annual Empowerment Experience in our tabernacle. And right now, our panel discussion is about creating and protecting Black wealth. Building and safeguarding wealth within the Black community is perhaps most important than it's ever been in our history. The panel focuses on strategies for creating prosperity and keeping it in the face of historical attempts to seize Black wealth and ongoing systemic inequalities. Panelists will discuss the importance of wealth building, financial best practices, and getting started with actionable steps to help prepare for our future. And let me talk about some of our esteemed guests today, starting with our bios. Just raise your hand when I say your name, and I'll talk a little bit about you. Representative Dorisha K. Parker. Clap your hands, show some love now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Elected to serve her first term in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives in November of 2020, representing residents in the 198th Legislative District in her native Northwest Philadelphia. Representative Parker has a respected reputation as a public relations expert and entrepreneur, using her skills to restore confidence in government and transparency and open communication. She has partnered with community advocates and residents to stop gun violence, reduce poverty, and fight for clean air and water. Her priorities include enacting criminal justice reforms, giving a voice to seniors, preserving parks and recreation centers, and providing affordable health care to all Pennsylvanians. Clap it up one more time for Representative Dorisha K. Parker. Next up, we got Pat Charles. Put your hands up when I say your name so everybody knows. Show your love. Clap it up now. Supervising agent for National Income Life Insurance Company, which is the service division of Globe Life, the official life insurance company for the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Braves, the Texas Rangers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. No Eagles? That's cheer. They didn't cheer because they hear the Eagles. But Pat is ranked as the #1 agent in New York and #6 in the country out of almost 1,300 agents who are licensed with Globe Life nationwide. He is committed to family protection and securing wealth for families across the Northeast. Pat also co-owns a TV production company in the Caribbean, and before he got into the financial investment industry, he was the head writer of BET's 106 & Park from the years 2000 to 2012. Shouts out. Mary Alowo Shokeye, MBA. Hand up, right? Clap it up, show your love. Influential, forward-thinking, and operationally oriented finance thought leader with extensive experience leading domestic and international segments of publicly traded technology organizations, most recently serving as the finance leader of an $80 billion revenue company. Mary consistently drives change, and she is adept at building relationships across levels, functions, and geographies to achieve business objectives. Mary has a master's of business administration from Purdue University in Indiana and over 17 years of work experience spanning strategic operations, market dynamics, business development, and product success. Next up, Kamari Ellis. Yeah, okay, I didn't even have to ask y'all. I like the energy. Chief Tax Problem Solver at Philly Tax Team and host of the Finance Rebel podcast. Kamari loves to help his clients leverage the tax code so they can create wealth for their families and communities. Kamari started his tax career first working with his father, who was also a tax accountant in the 1980s. After developing a foundation in tax, Kamari graduated from the best school in the world, Temple University, majoring in finance. After working in finance as a financial advisor and portfolio manager, Kamari decided to start Philly Tax Team. He provides financial insight to the public via his podcast, The Finance Rebel. Next up, Keith Carney Jr., Philadelphia native, born and raised and educated. He is an accountant and the owner and CEO of CK2 Financials, a small business accounting and tax firm based out of Philadelphia that has been in business for 10 years since this past April. He holds a bachelor's degree in accounting and has served in the corporate sector, holding positions of an AP specialist all the way up to a finance director. In his 18 years of experience as a finance professional, Keith has helped thousands of individuals and small businesses to achieve their financial goals. He specializes in personal finance, business structuring, income tax filing, accounting, software management, and financial readiness. Are you ready to talk money? They say that you be where the fire's warm, so I feel good being on stage. I should have brought more of my cards because, somebody might feel like giving out a loan or something. You never know. But first, we'll go down the line. And in a moment like this, for a people such as us, I'm curious to know what is one of the main things that you would tell our community in terms of the precarious nature of the current moment and our financial position and our financial future. as a professional, what would you tell our community in this moment about what we need to know about money to start off?
Good morning, everybody. And first, I would like to say it's an honor and pleasure to be here above ground, to being seen versus being viewed. Let's just start off by talking about why we are all here and our purpose. If you're talking about a moment like this, I can honestly say that I'm going to say some things that folks are going to be very upset with me today, because we got to have truth. And I feel like what better way to have a truthful conversation, hearing from a policymaker who has bills signed into law, and we're also in the church, amen. And I think what also that means that our spending habits need to change before January 20th.
Make it plain now.
And the reason why I say that, recently, I was hungry, and I was like, let me just go ahead and get something from Uber Eats. So when I saw the total, it was $48. And I didn't have leftovers. So I'm saying it's $48. I didn't have leftovers. I'm glad it was a Black-owned business, but I know how much it would have been if I had went to the Black-owned business in person to give that money. So I'm saying that individuals don't realize that you're paying for a convenience and at a higher rate that you're not going to be able to afford in a year's time. So I know Uber Eats, maybe I'm going to start probably getting emails and text messages from them because they're angry. But I'm saying that as far as being more fiscally sound, we shouldn't have conversation at death. Amen. I think that we got to have conversations while we are alive, and we got to do it in a polite way. And that's the best time for me is when you're thinking of, I'll give you a great example. I was talking to a financial planner and advisor, and they were sharing with me that he would gather him and his family and would go out on Black Friday. So when he knew Black Friday was out, him and his family would go out and survey where the people were shopping and spending their money. And where people were shopping and spending their money, they would put a spreadsheet together and then realize those are the stocks of the stores that they need to put their money in, because people are putting their money there. Something we just need to do more fiscally responsible things together, collectively, and then put it into a policy so we can make sure that reparation is real versus having it as a talking point.
Oh, thank you for that. That's a whole new look on Black Friday. Green Friday. Next up. Brother Pat Shaw, just listening, tuning in, 8th Annual Empowerment Experience.
Yo. Okay. All right. So, look, when it comes to wealth, right, there's a couple of different ways that I don't believe people truly spend time thinking about it this way. But you can invest in things that over time it grows. Right, a lot of people want something like a quick fix, right? Like a lot of these kids, especially you're raising kids, they're on their iPhones and their tablets, and they think that that's how the world works, instant gratification, right? So if they're in line waiting for something with you for 3 minutes, they might get very restless, right? So you can't have that in your life. You have to really understand that it's either going to take time, but at least with life insurance, something happens to you. Before you get there, your family, there's a payout, right? So when it comes to, whole life insurance is the way to go, because over time, that also grows cash value that you can take money out, right? So it's kind of like, there's nothing that compares to whole life insurance. But, this year I really made a point to, get everything really straightened out, mutual funds, Roth IRA for retirement, and I have an irrevocable trust. So these are things that that you want to secure your future, but without a doubt, if something happens to you before then, right? Because life is not promised, any day to anyone. So you want to be able to have a payout for your family in case you don't make it there. I hope that makes sense.
Well, now, before we go to Mary, I noticed that you said, when you talked about irrevocable trust, you said, and I was thinking, oh, no, they don't. So if you could just briefly just explain what you were saying when you said you have an irrevocable trust.
So I have a home in Massachusetts, right? And my mom lives there year round, but I take care of it. And but I'm only there for the summers. But what we did was, since she's co-owner, we did an irrevocable trust because my mom is 76. So let's just say, God forbid, she doesn't make it past 5 years. The property is completely sealed off, and you want to be able to protect your assets. It really, irrevocable trust, if you're a homeowner, that is really how you can secure your assets. Because I'm gonna say this real quick, just give me 30 seconds. When you are older, right, and let's just say that you're in your 70s, 80s, or whatever, and you don't make it without, like, let's say one day you have dementia or something, and you want to get help from the state wants you to liquidate most of your assets before they help you. So if you own a home, they're going to tell you to sell it so that you have, so they're not going to help you unless almost everything you have is liquidated. So in order to protect your assets, if you have an irrevocable trust early enough, then they can't take it from you.
Thank you for that. Mary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to be here. I think it's very important that when we talk about trauma, we actually face that trauma head on. And I think in our Black communities, you're told Black men don't cry. You can't show that you're struggling. You can't show any of this. I think it starts from the root cause, right? It's very important as Black people that we stand up for ourselves, regardless of where we find ourselves. And a lot of the way we do that is by financial equity, right? They always say money make the world go around. And the reason why they say that is because the more financial equity you have, the more you have a seat at the table, the more you have power, and power is able to influence decisions that affect our communities. So let's deal with our trauma. Let's put it in the past. And I love that we put this panel together because you can always start now. You don't have to be in your 50s, your 80s, or you can start as young as when you have your first child. So I'm really excited as we start to dig into what does that look like to have financial equity. Thank you.
Thank you. If you're just tuning in, 8th Annual Empowerment Experience, WURD, Rapid Friends here at Enon, and we're asking our esteemed panelists, in a time like this, from a financial perspective, what are some things that we need to know as a community?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I would say let's go back to the basics. We're talking about going back to the basics. Trump has got office. Things are about to change. The Department of Education is about to change. My kids are in college right now. I'm sure a lot of the listening audience have people in school right now. But I would say go back to savings and go back to what it's all about. It's about people. Let's start reconnecting with people. Now I know we're supposed to talk about money, but what is money without people? So let's not forget about what we're doing that's all for.
And our net worth is our net worth, right? It's a
Correct.
relationship
That's a
between
fact.
the two. But shouts out to Brother Kamari Ellis. Next up, Keith Carney Jr. Share with the community some things we need to know.
Yes, thank you for having me today. A few things. The biggest thing is, what I noticed. A lot of people want to, hold on to the past, right, and act in a way as we still living in those times, instead of being, intentional about, doing better and being better, moving in a new way, because it's 2024 and it's going to be 2025. So we got to be able to, change our mindset and realize what the goal is. Reading that fine print, paying attention to every detail and not assuming anything, just really coming to full understanding, and also the last thing, biggest thing is, when it comes time to encounterment with a professional, financial professional, stuff like that, you got to be intentional in what you want from them, right? Being as though you got to let your ego down, you got to let your pride down, you got to pull off the cover, and let out the things that you have been going through. Everybody's financial situation is individual and unique. So a lot of times, what someone else is doing is probably not for you. So it's more so learning about what's for you and what's attainable, and just really being intentional about you being better.
Now we have about 1 minute before our break for each of our panelists, and the question is going to be in terms of the election. A lot of people talk about the election in unfortunately emotional terms. A lot of people talk about the election in terms of divisive terms with demographics. From a financial perspective, from a purely financial perspective, talk to us about the most recent presidential election from a financial perspective, according to the identities that you also occupy. So I think there's an interesting intersection between being part of these communities, but also being from a financial world. And I'd like to take a minute apiece. Just let me know what your thoughts are financially and as you know the person you are for this election.
Sure. Basically, when people are talking about financially, I always have to remind everybody every 6 months there's an election. So that means there's always going to be consequences, good, bad, or indifferent. So when you're talking about a financial perspective, a lot of things that financially individuals may not think about as it relates to banking. But guess what happened almost last year? A different class of how marijuana can be from a federal perspective. Why are we talking about marijuana? Because that's going to be a conversation that we're going to be talking about as legislative if when we pass it as recreation. So you're going to have to start talking about finances in a political manner because we got to legislate. So that means banking, that means all this other kind of commerce, like all of these other businesses are going to come out of this one bill that's going to have a trickle down effect. And how do you want to be not on the menu, but how do you want to be at the table when you have these conversations that people are talking about? So financially, it's always going to be in play. And that's why individuals like that are always seeking to speak to legislators to see where are we going to be aligned with major topics that are coming up, because it has always going to have a policy component to that.
Thank you so much, Representative Parker. Next up,
Well,
Pat Charles.
Well, I will say that you have to take advantage of whatever is going on and wherever the wind is blowing, if you know what I mean, when it comes to politically. So, Trump is in office now, or coming up, and there's going to be a lot of the big donors who have helped him get to where he is, and a lot of it is coming from Silicon Valley. You see a lot of big business about to happen already. The stock market's going crazy, Bitcoin and, crypto and things like that. Now might be a time, if you haven't already, just to dig into it, learn about it, watch some videos on YouTube and understand what's going on, because those are the areas of the industries that will thrive to an extent, right? So but there's more than one way to skin a cat. You just have to know what's going on politically. I'll leave it at that, and then go to Mary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So if you're like me, I was very devastated about the outcome of the election. And in fact, I had a girlfriend who called me and said, look, can we move to Africa? Because I don't know what the next 4 years is going to look like. And I really took my time to think about that. And then when I thought about it, I came back to her and I said, look, there's no better place to run to. Let me just tell you that right now. I am a Nigerian-born American. So I grew up in Nigeria, came here when I was 11, and I've been in the U.S. since then. So I have the opportunity to actually travel the world. And one of the things I told her is the golden opportunity that the U.S. has is that you have access to build wealth. And I started my company, Invest with Mary, and I strictly invest in the U.S. stock market and mastering what that is. I met a guy when I was about 22. He told me, go get a 401k and just get started. And so I didn't know what he meant, but I went ahead and I just put my money in there because he was someone I trusted. And I forgot all about it. 2 years later, my brother comes and tells me, hey, I went to JP Morgan, and they told me to buy this investment, and I only have $2,000, you need to do it too. And I was like, oh, okay, what does that mean? Long and short story, I scraped up the little scrap that I had, and I went into JP Morgan, and I bought my first mutual fund. This is a bunch of stocks put into one portfolio, and they have a portfolio manager who manages it, and it grows over time. And I had moved, life that kind of happened to me, and I suddenly remembered, like 5 years later, that I bought this mutual fund. And I opened it up, and I had a 37% return, and my eyes got nothing. I was like, look, I didn't work for this money. I did nothing, and it grew without me having to even ask a penny more. And this is kind of why I started this hearing. I started to say, look, if we have information, we would do better. And oftentimes, when people in our community get wealthy, they become unaccessible. So I want to be accessible to my people. And so I started this journey of self-discovery and self-learning. And now I can proudly say, you know, if you leave here with nothing, go and buy what I call an exchange traded fund, an ETF. See me afterwards. I'm happy to give you my recommendation. Go to a bank and tell them you want a mutual fund. It's just like an ETF, but it's specific to that bank or that broker. And that is where you start, okay? And over time, you start to get really good at it. You buy stocks, individual stocks. When the Republicans are in power, please hear me. This is your time to take your portion. I bought Tesla stock because I knew he was aligned with Elon Musk exactly 4 weeks ago. When I checked my stock, in fact, this morning, it is almost $400 a share. And it was about $310 just 3 weeks ago. So just hypothetically, you put $10,000 in there, and you just made literally 60%. $10,000, that's $6,000 you didn't have to work for. So it's very important that when the Republicans are in power, find the ways to earn your wealth. And it starts with mastering what you don't know. So if you heard nothing, I'm saying please go and buy an exchange traded fund. See me afterwards. I'll give you 2 or 3 that I personally recommend, and just put money in there.
We are here during our panel discussion. We had just heard from Kamari Ellis before the break, and now Keith Carney Jr. is going to give us some financial advice for our community to start this section of our panel about Black wealth creation.
No problem. So yeah, we left off talking about presidency and get people prepared for this new president coming back. I remember when Trump won some years ago and he changed the tax law. Man, it really changed the game. I do over 500 tax returns a year, so I definitely got good in-depth knowledge of what I'm about to tell you guys. But he definitely made taxes to be very business oriented, right? So if you think about it, you know, he's coming back. So now he's probably going to, you know, double or triple what he did 2 years ago when it comes to the taxes. So Trump is a businessman, you know, seems to be. So, you know, you want to put yourself in a situation that you want to be business-like too. And if you're not, you got to get somebody on your side to be that way. But you definitely want to be in the mindset of business when it comes to your taxes, right? He changed a lot of stuff for individuals. He has made it better for some business people, you know, if you kind of know how to navigate that way. But just know that when it comes to taxes, some of them change every 5 to 6 years, you know, so don't be stuck on, you know, what's in the now. You know, always keep your eye out and be ready for changes. And change is evident and always there. So taxes and Trump, just think business.
There you go.
I think a few other things as well, but I appreciate, you know, to keep that front of mind. But now I have, thanks to the WURD family, some specific questions for each of you in terms of, you know, your experiences. So first, I'm going to start with Representative Parker. As a public servant, what is the role of government in addressing the systemic inequalities that have historically stripped Black communities of wealth? Are there any policies or programs you're advocating for that specifically address that issue?
Sure, and thank you again for having me. Also, on the other side of what I'm doing is I'm also vice chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. I am also, out of 202 legislators, I have the 5th Blackest district. So why do I give you the stats and the statistic? Because one of the mantras that you currently see me wearing, a Black wealth sweatshirt, Black-owned family, wealthy family out of Maryland, as you see me wearing I Buy Black hat, I've always been Black. I don't need anybody to think because now that I'm a politician that I got to segue and code switch. No. I'm the politician that tell y'all don't celebrate me in February because I'm 365 Black, right? So if you are not doing things intentionally, as far as, I'll give you something to say that. The young man, Kamari Ellis, he does my taxes. He's Black, right? Okay. My attorney is Black. My political director is Black. the all of the businesses that I need, I make sure I put that back into my district that are Black. So when you have an individual who is a policymaker, I cannot talk about policy and I'm not living it. So if you look at my staff who is in the audience, she is Black. So when you have these conversations and you're not doing anything intentionally and you're just doing it to get reelected, then you don't understand. And I think what ends up happening sometimes as policymakers, we think the devil's in the details. It's our constituents that's telling us how to move things differently. So what I tell people, anytime that there is a community meeting and that there's going to be development, it should be, you should treat it as if somebody recently got shot. That means it should be standing room only, because you need to understand what is about to happen to your neighborhood, what input you need to take place, and what they are trying to change the dynamic. And that's the question that you need to put on individuals where you reside. The only way things are going to change is if the government, which is everybody in this room who are the people, put it back in place.
And specifically, what do you think the government's role is systemically trying to remedy some of these inequalities?
Making it available for the people. And the way you do it is by people organizing and making sure that these policies and laws that are about to take place come next year, that they're at the table carving it out so that we listen to it. White papers matter.
Gotcha.
Opinion letters matter.
No, thank you for that. Pat Charles, how can families use life insurance to secure, well, you kind of already gave us some of this, but we can go more in depth. Even if they're starting with a limited resource, that's a good segue. Because you talked a lot about what we can do. I know that we're going to talk a little bit more about mindset to close out, but when people think they don't have enough to get started or to participate, what would you say?
So there are some misconceptions that people may have when it comes to life insurance. Number one, some people may feel like it costs a lot of money, right? So it really just depends on how much you want for your, it goes by your age. Whole life goes by your age. So the older you get, if you don't have it, it's going to cost more. People always want to try to find like the cheapest way, but you're going to find out why it's the cheapest, one way or another. If you end up with a term policy, that means it runs out, right? Or you get something on TV that says, oh yeah, it doesn't matter your health conditions. Don't listen to that. You know what I mean? Because when it comes down to finding the details in what you're about to purchase or what you're about to get into, you're going to end up realizing why it was advertised as so cheap. When it comes to whole life insurance, it goes by your age. It's heavily regulated. And then you want to get a company, a Fortune 500 company that pays out quickly, because many life insurance companies, it take them 6 months to pay out, 8 months, right? The company that I work for, it takes 3 days. Somebody dies on a Monday, the family has the money by Thursday. The only catch is you have to be healthy enough to get it. If you have too many things going on, you might get rejected. You might not get it. And then you insure somebody else in your family, and then and that's the purpose of life insurance. And I just want to say this: there is nothing in the entire world, or anything that quite frankly, any of these panelists is involved in that is 100% guaranteed if you were to die tomorrow. That is the only thing that matches a guarantee with a guarantee. There's a guarantee that one day you will die. All of us, everyone roaming this earth, right? One day you will pass away and move on, right? The X factor is you don't know when that is. But you get insured. If God forbid you pass away sooner than later, then there's an immediate payout that pays your family. Doesn't matter if it's 10,000, 20,000, 150,000, $250,000, whatever. You get what you can afford, right? Because it goes by your age. Okay.
I appreciate that, Pat Charles. If you're just tuning in, we are here at the 8th Annual Empowerment Experience, Enon Tabernacle Church, WURD. I'm Aaron Smith, the rapping professor, and right now we're having our panel about creating and maintaining Black wealth. And now Mary Alowo Chokeye is going to discuss with us from a perspective as an international finance leader, what lessons from global markets or strategies can be applied to help Black communities in the United States build and sustain wealth? And you talked earlier about having that international experience and have traveled the world and lived in other countries on other continents. Talk to us about some lessons that we can glean from those experiences and that knowledge.
Thank you. As a child, I recall my dad was an aviator, so he was an expatriate, so he lived in different countries. And the one thing he always used to tell me is, Mary, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. As I grew older, I started to say wealth is power. And I'll tell you what that means. In order for you to be wealthy, you can't be lazy. You have to be hardworking. You have to search out knowledge, right? So I put those two things together and said, Mary, knowledge plus wealth equals ultimate power. And the reason why I say that is I went to Burkina Faso this summer for the first time. And I had heard that there was a military coup. And I was just curious what life was like there. And I have a team there that works for us, for me, for my group. And when I landed there, I looked at it and I said, wow, the U.S. has so many things to be thankful for. The airport was about one level. The road wasn't tarred. It was full of sand. And I just said, oh my God, there's poverty here. And I had the same experience, not to say that all African countries are bad, not at all. They're thriving, great communities. But I realized that we have a golden opportunity as Americans, and even better as Black Americans, because there's so many opportunities we're yet to tap. So there's one thing I want to say to us: get your U.S. stock market account healthy. If you are feeling like, okay, I'm already past my retirement age, so I can't do a 401k or 403b, Mary, where can I start? I'll tell you this: if you can save literally $100 every month, start slow. And as you have extra cash, tax season is coming, you get a refund. Go ahead and keep throwing the money in there and get some vehicle that's super safe and just watch your money work for you. If you have children, so first thing, study yourself, have something you can actually continue to put money in. Number two, if you have children, go and open a 529, because I mentioned knowledge is power. It is very important to have a good education. I'm actually a CPA MBA. So you have to search out that knowledge to bring yourself up. So start a 529 for your kids, same exact thing, put $50 a month and let it do what it does. My kid is 9 years old. I check their account once a week. It now has 35%, even during COVID and out of COVID, 35% return. So when he's 18 and getting ready to go to school, he doesn't have to worry about loans and grants because there's money already sitting there. Start with $50 a month, right? That's the third thing. I love that he mentioned insurance. And a lot of us investors don't want to talk about insurance because I want you to invest differently. But insurance is critical because it's available for you when you're no longer here. I want to challenge you. If you look up how the Rockefellers got rich, right? They not only got life insurance, they also had a trust, which means you secure your assets in a vehicle. And every time someone passed away, it went on to the children and the children and the children and the children. So now that you have that knowledge, you have to do better. So if there's anything I want us to do, let's take that out of here. We're going to do better starting from today because we have more knowledge.
I just want to say what she just described, that's called infinite banking, aka the waterfall method. The waterfall method, where every time you pass away, the money goes right back into the trust and it keeps on flowing over to the next child, the next generation. I want to say one thing. The only way that it really works, the true way that it works, is if everyone that is in the trust is insured. If people are not insured, it's not going to work properly. I just wanted to give that addendum.
That means y'all got to talk to y'all family members that y'all ain't been talking to. Look at everybody's face. They look at everything. I'm guilty too. I'm ministering to myself. But in terms of moving in together and working together, I think those conversations need to be had as much as, how we don't like what's happening in politics. We're going to take a quick break and continue our conversations. The 8th Annual Empowerment Experience, E9 Tabernacle, WURD, and all our great partners. On the other side, you're going to learn more about this money. You're learning with WURD, y'all.
My
Mark your calendar for the Black Excellence Gala, hosted by the Connect and the National Black MBA Association Philadelphia chapter. Join us on Friday, December 13th at Rivers Casino at 1001 North Delaware Avenue for a night of community, connection, and celebration with Philly's finest Black professionals. With Philadelphia's Night Mayor Raheem Manning as your host, you can expect an unforgettable evening filled with live music, hors d'oeuvres, and a celebration of leaders making a difference. Tickets are going fast. Visit blackexcellence.gala.org to reserve yours today. Don't miss this inspiring night.
Day one, the hardest day. The day you hear,
This is a type of blood cancer.
but day one is just one day. At the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we are here to help you move past day one.
On day 45, I discovered an online community who shared great tips for in-treatment care.
I missed a lot of school during treatment, and LLS helped me keep up.
To learn more and get help on day 2, day 28, or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955-4572.
Children's mental health is in crisis. That's why the Kids Mental Health Foundation envisions a future where mental health is a vital part of growing up. Families tell us the challenges are real.
What do you do to feel happy?
I don't know.
Can you describe what it feels like when you're sad?
I get mad easily. I just lay in my bed and be by myself.
When it comes to mental health, do you ever feel overwhelmed?
I do get overwhelmed. We see them struggling emotionally, and you're like, but where do I go? What do I do?
You're gonna find tons of things on the internet, but you want it to be from a trusted source.
I felt like everything that I wanted to provide for her, I wasn't going to be able to do.
We need help.
We need help. Yes, we need help.
Most childhood health resources focus on physical well-being. But what about our kids' mental health? The Kids Mental Health Foundation provides free, expert-developed resources to millions across the United States. Don't wait for a concern or crisis. Early action can be life-changing. Learn more at kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org.
Science is not an opinion. People come before pipelines. It's not too late to act on climate. At Earth Justice, this is what we believe. We're a national legal nonprofit fighting for these beliefs in court. Join us at earthjustice.org.
Words of empowerment.
Dears, try to introduce courtesy into your speech to each other. You have no idea what it will do for your brother or sister to whom you speak. And you surely have no idea what it will do for you. It will lift you up.
Words of joy and empowerment from Maya Angelou on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
No, what's the word, boy? What's the word? What's the word?
WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Yeah.
900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, 8th Annual Empowerment Experience. We are here at E9 Tabernacle having a wonderful conversation about wealth creation and wealth maintenance and the waterfall method and things like that. If you just tune it in, you got to make sure you catch the playback, online and on Instagram, or hashtag onWURD and all that, because, make sure the playback. And even for some people listening now, you might want to hear this again because there's so much great information. Brother Ellis, you've emphasized using the tax code and what it means with the Republicans in power to create wealth. What tax strategies or benefits are most often overlooked by Black individuals and families, and how can they begin to leverage these tax codes to their advantage?
All of them.
Wait, how many pages in that tax code, brother?
It's about 3,000. People exaggerate, but listen, I say this: the tax code is a cheat code. Right?
Say that again.
The tax code is the cheat code.
Like that.
Right? Everything with money comes back to taxes. We never talk about that, but that's a fact. Some of the richest people leverage the tax code. That's why everybody focuses on it. But to answer your question, Keith said something earlier about, you probably got to
take your hand off the top of the mic, probably just a little closer. There you go.
Turn my levels up a little bit too. But what I would say is that starting a business can be really, really profitable. The tax code was written by entrepreneurs. This country was started by entrepreneurs. It will always be in favor of entrepreneurs. Why? Because entrepreneurialism makes the world better. It makes the economy better. And the tax code is incentivized to make the economy better. So start a business, get into real estate. That's the other cheat code.
Start a business, get involved in real estate.
Yes. But start small. because I don't want to present all these grandiose things that people can't do right now.
Gotcha.
What can you do right now? That's what I want to talk about.
One thing you could do is know that the tax code is the what?
Cheat
code.
Correct.
No, thank you, Brother Ellis and Brother Carney. As a business owner who helps others with financial readiness, what common misconceptions about building wealth do you encounter, and how do you help clients to shift their mindset? I like this because I wanted to end with mindset. So how would you help to shift their mindset and dispel some of these common misconceptions?
Man, it's a lot of those out here.
Well, name a few first and then tell us.
Yeah, I got you. Well, one misconception is, people that make money salary wise, right? They're actually not the people to go to for sound financial advice. All right. The kind of people you actually want to surround yourselves with is actually on this stage. Like me and Kamari is in the tax world together, right? Mary, financial advising situation, Charles, insurance, right? You want to be able to have those type of people by your side. We are human beings. Our memory is only going to take us so far. You actually need to have a tax accountant and a financial advisor on your team. You need to get with them every year, at least once a year, and not when it's time to get the job done that you want. You got to be proactive about what you want to do, because a lot of times it takes some building, to get to where you want to go. So a big misconception is that I see all the time is, wait until the last minute to do something. This is a financial world, and stuff just don't turn over like that tomorrow. Especially when you have to work with the IRS, the state and the city authorities. Stuff just take time. So definitely be proactive and get a good financial advisor and tax accountant on your team.
Now, to close out, we're just going to do like a final thought or word of advice, and also social media to be able to contact you all, because I want people to really take the next step and be intentional about following up on the information they receive. But one question I do have, and I'll just direct that to you because we're having this conversation. What about the people who believe that it's not worth it to have these kind of investments in these type of relationships? Because some people say things like, well, I don't have enough money to get a tax account. I don't have enough money. Can you talk about the cost of not investing in these kind of experts and things like that? I think that's where a lot of people are, where they hear about these things that are available, but they don't think it's worth it or within their budget, and they don't realize that they might end up paying more on the other side. If you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So people need to really start investing in themselves and not investing in the things they actually want. I'll see many of people, we pay for all these lavish trips, cars. We go out to eat all the time. We throw our money away in entertainment, but people have a hard time spending money on investing in themselves financially, getting sound financial advice and places to start and finish. So definitely, man.
No, I'm glad you said it, brother. Tough love is corrective and it's good, but you dumped that alley-oop. I appreciate you for that. He said it, not me. No. 8th Annual Empowerment Experience. Now, in closing, just talk about the type of. Tell me personally, what was it for you that got you in the right mindset? And then give just your social media and some of the expertise that you offer and how they can follow up with you. But I would like to know, since you all are successful. I know it wasn't just something that was always innate to go into these careers and have this kind of success. Give me a lesson that you learned or a way that you changed your mindset to get where you are, and then tell us how we can contact you, and we'll close out that way.
I would always start off with my parents. And the best loaner was my father. When we were younger, he would have jars in his room of pennies. And he said the reason why he would be able to go to the bank and make the deposit with the pennies, because all the pennies were in my brother and my room. And he said that was my aha moment, that the fact that we are providing for you as your parents, but you don't understand the value of the dollar because you're just dumping it on the floor. So what I always say to some people in our community is they curbside rich, meaning that they pull up and that's all that they have is on their curbside, whether it's their car, their pocketbooks and things. And it gets frustrating as politicians, because if their house burns down or if there is a funeral, they're calling my office to do a fish fry, to bury their mother, to bury their father, to bury their grandmother, or even to bury their child, because they didn't take the necessary steps to do the preparation when they was laying down creating that being. So I'm saying, from a perspective of me being a politician, is why I'm saying we've been doing series of talking about getting your house in order. We have been partnering with this station and others, having estate attorneys and certain planners to make sure that we correct
And
these
give
mistakes.
us the social media for the sake of time.
Rep Parker, Rep Dorisha.
No, thank you so much for that. And curbside rich, you said. Okay. Well, we want to learn about being afterlife rich. So, Brother Charles, it's on you.
So really quick, I'm going to say this, is that when you pass away, you either leave behind a blessing or a burden. There's no two ways about it, right? A blessing or a burden. You either leave behind peace or you leave behind pain, right? If you go to a funeral, you can tell a lot of times if the person had life insurance just by looking around. And, you know, I like to tell people that when I help out a family, their family does not have to cry twice. They only have to cry once. You understand? They don't have to cry again all night for nights and nights trying to raise money to say goodbye. All right? I've seen it happen. I can get into certain anecdotes. I won't even do that because, you know, we're running out of time.
Well, social media, how do they
social
follow
media,
up with you?
My social media, Pat Charles TV, as in television. So that's my Instagram, Pat Charles TV. Easy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Sister Mary.
Thank you. I wanted to add quickly to what he had said about paying for services. Please know that there's a lot of free resources out there as well, right? It depends on your level. A lot of us too, over time, we give sometimes free stuff. I give free classes, I give free coaching. So leverage those things. We're in a community together, which brings me to my conclusion. Look, let us be there for each other. You know, the one thing that our grandparents had was that community closeness, that relationship bond, where you got aunties from, 20 other states and you feel like they're down the street from you. We are each other's support. If our community is to be healthy and wealthy, it starts with us networking with each other. Find the resources that you need and go for it. You can find me on my LinkedIn page, Mary Olowo, Olowo. If you remember Aloha, Olowo, that is my LinkedIn page. Or I have a Calendly page, Invest with Mary Rich, to reach out to me. Or stop me later on today. I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Brother Kamari Ellis.
Yes, I would say read. We need more reading. Learning is a lifetime activity. If you want to become wealthy, you're serious about wealth, start reading. Read a lot. You can find me on Instagram or anywhere under the Finance Rebel.
The Finance Rebel.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Brother Ellis. If you want to learn about money, you said to read, right? Read a lot. I like that as a professor, it's not just me. But Brother Carney, close us out.
Close us out, yeah. So I'm gonna go back to the question that you stated in the beginning. Once I got out of the military, I came back home and I worked at an armored truck company, and that's when I realized so many people just really like money. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna work in that field. So I went back to school and got my degree in accounting, because I wanted to help people navigate how to get money and know and learn about what money really means, right? It's only $1, but like you're at this event, so you want to create wealth, right? But becoming a full understanding to everything, I would say get involved with organizations that actually teach financial literacy for free. Like Mary said, it's a lot of free programs. Sometimes I pop up at places and talk for free.
And your social media?
And my social media, yes. CK2 Financials on all platforms, and on Instagram, The Accountant CK2.
Clap it up for all of our participants for our first wonderful, amazing wealth creation and maintenance panel. We're going to continue the empowerment experience. Sister Tiny Pendleton is in the building, and after we do an hour together on the air, she will be doing the second panel, which is about entrepreneurship. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. We also have complimentary snacks and sandwiches, and we have food trucks outside. So shouts out to Brown's Family ShopRite, Hers, Dietz, and Watson, and all the great people that are here, the vendors. Keep listening to WRD. Keep supporting and follow up with our panelists. Thank you all. You're learning and growing with WURD, y'all.